Hi guys, welcome back to Crazy Brave Homeschool. If you're new here, my name's Ashley and I'm a homeschool mom to a rising third grader and rising kindergartner. Oh, sorry about the curtain. I am not loving the setup today, but the bedroom is the most private place to be right now, and we have a really busy weekend. So I wanted to get this video shot because we just wrapped up our last day of summer school or July school. We did do some really consistent summer schooling this year, and just as we did last year, but I actually wasn't gonna summer school this year. I really wanted to take like an 8-week break and just play some games and do some reading challenges, but I did decide to bring in some formal school for 4 weeks. And so that's what this video is about, is to get you guys all caught up on the curriculum that we used this summer, where the kiddos are at with their core subjects, and some enrichment too. So I actually have quite a bit of stuff to show you, which if you know me at all is no surprise. I really tried to go light this summer, and in the beginning I did, but then I thought, well, hey, I think there's some room to squeeze in a couple new things. And then I did actually bring in some new math supplements that I wasn't totally planning on using, and that ended up just creating more for me to do. But anyway, let's get started. I'm gonna start with, let's start with my third grader, rising third grader. So I'll tell you what we did for language arts this summer. For 4 days a week for the past 4 weeks, I started using the Charlotte Mason reading method with her once again. This is a method that we have used in the past, and then we've brought in other methods that are more phonics based. We even tried All About Reading level 2 for maybe 10 lessons. That's actually how we started our summer. And then I decided to go back to the method that I just love the most. So this was a huge win for us this summer. Language arts went really, really well. The two spines or main books, because with Charlotte Mason, you're just reading great literature, was Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales and A Child's Garden of Verses. I knew my daughter would connect with these because they're fairy tales, and she's getting a little older and a little more mature now. So I knew she could handle kind of the darkness and the morbidity in some of these fairy tales, and she was kind of into it. Some of them were a little weird for sure. But basically, well, here, I'll say this too. Child's Garden of Verses has gone over so exceptionally well. I didn't really know how my daughter would enjoy reading and studying poetry, and we're doing it loosely in terms of studying it. But, you know, this is really, like, these books are really geared towards me hearing her read aloud, working on her fluency, working on her vocabulary, and working on some spelling. And we're able to do this with living literature. But I will say these poems have gone over really, really well. And I didn't know if we would use this book. I'm so glad that we have. We're going to keep going with it. We did read all the stories in this, so this will be getting shelved. But essentially what we would do for a reading lesson with her is that we would read aloud one day, and that's pretty much it. I might do a little copy work or dictation on that day. And we might look up words in the dictionary if we have time. But mostly, and this was Charlotte Mason's method, you read one day and then the next day is like a phonics and spelling lesson. So I would essentially take any words that were difficult for her in these books and jot them down and then craft a spelling and phonics lesson, word family building lesson off of those words. And so we would do that every other day based on the words that she stumbled on. Her reading is going so well that there were reading lessons where after reading aloud, there weren't any words that she needed to work on. So on the off day then, we would just practice her skills with looking at words in the dictionary, working on some word families with word building, some of the same stuff, but I'm just saying there weren't like specific words that we needed to learn. So just so well. I'm really happy with this method. Once Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales ended, then I brought in, oh, and I'll mention too, we used the Land of Kakiak bookmarks a lot this summer. So this is just comprehension check-in, grammar check-in, and phonemic awareness. So just making sure that I'm hitting like the grammar rules that she's learned and stuff. It was a lot of review for her this summer with grammar. Her comprehension is just, fantastic, but it's been good to hear her comprehension in terms of what she read and not just what I've read. So once we were done with the Hans Christian Andersen book, we started our first reader with Bookshark. We started this last week, The Secret Valley. I bought the third grade readers from Bookshark Language Arts. I did not get the curriculum, I just got the readers because we're going to continue the Charlotte Mason method. And how we've been handling this is same thing. We'll read aloud one day and then do a phonics spelling lesson the next. I'm not making her read the whole thing aloud for 20 minutes. I think that would be a lot of reading out loud for her. It's a little tiring still. So I read a page, she reads a page. I read a page, she reads a page. And that's how we've been handling each chapter. And then she'll give me a narration at the end of the chapter. I didn't know how this book would go over because it kind of looks a little similar to like Little House in the Big Woods. And we didn't enjoy Little House in the Big Woods. But this is really exciting so far and she's loving it. And I think that when she's reading the book, it actually is more exciting to her, like what's happening. So this is going great. I'm really happy with this. The other piece of her language arts is just getting through level 2, the Good and the Beautiful handwriting. This is still a lot of letter formation. There's no cursive in this yet. It's all print work, copy work, things like that. She tends to, in the beginning she didn't, but she does tend to skip the drawings and she definitely does not love handwriting. We've been working on this since last year and we are almost done. After we're done with this, we're moving into Logic of English cursive. Okay, let's hit her math. Okay, so I made a big change with math, leaving Right Start. We did Right Start level A and level B and it just went awesome the last 2 years. You know, the saying goes, don't fix what's not broken. But I did decide to try out a new math program. And I'm glad that we had the summer to try it out instead of like bringing in a full new math program for third grade. We decided to try out Math Mammoth. And that's because I think she was just getting a little tired of Right Start. It's so many manipulatives and a lot of hands-on work. And I thought that she was kind of getting more interested in just straightforward pencil to paper math. I also feel that she needs more of that, just that problem solving on paper as she gets a little older. But the thing is, I've got to remember, Poppy is still young. Like she's a young rising third grader. She turns 8 very soon. And so she'll be 8 all of third grade. So she's a little young for her grade. And we didn't do formal schooling until first grade. She's really astounded me with her math skills. And what I loved about Right Start is that it wasn't grade level. It was just level, like level A and level B. And I know that like a lot of people saw level A as kindergarten and level B as first grade. I don't really care. And I actually appreciate that it wasn't grade-based curriculum. And she has always tested really well on our state testing. And it's tested above her grade level for math. And so, what am I saying? I guess I just liked it better. I felt like I just didn't feel pressure to make sure that she was doing grade level math because she was already excelling in whatever level she was at. Math Mammoth is broken down by grades, and they have a work text for 2A and 2B. I decided to get a handful of lessons out of the 2B to see how she did with this summer. She also did not do a ton of subtraction, even though her subtraction facts are pretty solid. Doing like long subtraction on paper was not something that we did a lot of with Right Start yet. And so I wanted to do review and see how she handled some pen to paper math. I like the simplicity of this, and I like that I can just like grab whatever manipulative makes sense for it because we have so many. Oftentimes I'll just grab our abacus because that's what she's most used to. But I won't say this has been a win. It's been hard. There are mostly the word problems were really tough for her. The word problems in Right Start were definitely simpler. And so I've realized that when we hit word problems in this program, I need to choose ones. And I actually have the second grade curriculum. So I need to choose word problems from earlier on in grade 2 when we come to those, because she's not quite ready for these upper second grade, lower third grade word problems. Right Start wasn't strong in word problems, I will say. What do I say about Math Mammoth here? She did really well with the regrouping, but once she gets it, she's good. I think the problem with Math Mammoth is that the lessons are so minimal that I'm having to come up with a lot of creative ways to explain the concept to her, which is not my strong suit. I am not very math-minded, which is interesting because I actually really enjoyed teaching Right Start. And it made me feel confident because I'm not very math-minded, but I felt like I was because I really liked the Right Start program. So she's just not used to seeing so much of this. But I will say it is fairly simple enough. She can do this work. I think she just really loathes it. It's not exciting to her. She really is just seeing a lot of problems. And I know, you don't have to do all of them, I'll cross off a couple. Maria Miller really recommends doing, I think, every other and not even doing a full page. But Poppy needs the practice. And so I kind of felt we should do the full page. And then that's usually where we would stop. We wouldn't go on to the next one until the next day. But it's messy, right? But she's doing it. And I think that this is really good practice for her. So I don't want to say that Math Mammoth has been a loss. This is a tough day where she would scribble in the margins, I don't know, I don't want to do this. She'll say, I hate math. She'll if I try to explain one of the lessons up here, she just immediately feels like she can't do it. She'll just immediately be overwhelmed, and I'm just focus. If we can just focus for 1 minute and I can have complete attention to explain the lesson, I promise you it's not difficult. But she just immediately decides that it's too hard. And so getting her to regroup and refocus can be tough. Okay, dude, I will say the way that they taught the subtraction on this number line, I really hated. I like when you do the number lines where you draw the curves and you're skipping. I actually really hated this. So then I grabbed a number line that I had made from years ago and revisited this lesson, but showing her the way that I learned, and she understood it right away. This was really tough, understanding that subtraction and addition are intertwined, and that you can check your answers from subtraction by adding your answer to what was being subtracted. But it's even me just saying that, she's just what? And you can add your answer to what was being subtracted, this number. Oh, you guys, she's smart and she is actually really good with math, but she's still young. I think that she just lacks that level of focus to understand the concepts. Okay, so I just babbled on and on and on about that. We did almost this whole packet. We did 3/4 of it, and I don't know how many lessons it was, but we did it for the last 4 weeks. What I did the last few lessons, though, was brought in Right Start Level C. So I bought Level C thinking that this is what we were going to do for 3rd grade. And then I was going through it and I was like, oh my God, the first 30 lessons are so much review. She doesn't need that. Plus this program barely touches multiplication. I'd really like her to get into multiplication for 3rd grade. Some kids even find multiplication easier than addition and subtraction. So, but this was just it was just such a downer. She just really wasn't liking it. And so we just took a little break. And for 3 lessons, we jumped into a really cool Roman numeral lesson. 3 lessons actually. And she learned her Roman numerals up to 5,000, I think. And I think she would actually remember them. By day 3, she was pretty burned out on Roman numerals, but it just reminded me of like how unique this program is and how much I like it. And it felt really good to do this for a few lessons. So then I started thinking, well, what if I just use Right Start warm-ups as the beginning part of our lesson before we do our Math Mammoth? Because I love the warm-ups with Right Start. It's basically like a spiral review every lesson, and you don't have that with Math Mammoth. And I've always really loved that. I think that honestly, it's the spiral review in Right Start that's really solidified a lot of the math concepts for her. And actually, this does get into multiplication because they start treating skip counting as multiples. So like, tell me the multiples of 10 backwards starting at 100, 90, 80, 70. So it does actually start getting into multiplication. But anyway, I mean, I don't want to get too much into like what my plan is for 3rd grade, but I will just say it's going to involve Right Start. And it may involve a little less of Math Mammoth than I was originally planning. I am so glad that we tried Math Mammoth out for the summer so that I could really get an idea of what it would be like. I love that it's giving Poppy more practice with pencil to paper math. But do I think it's a strong program for her to do 4 days a week? No. I think it would probably be problematic for us. Okay, I'm hit my son's language arts and math, and then I want to share with you guys the absolute wins of this summer. So please stick around. This is not curriculum based. It is natural learning based. And it was honestly what my plan was for the summer, which is funny. I was just going to do reading challenges and math games. And I really want to share with you guys the things from those categories that worked so well. But first, let's hit my son. So for Woody's language arts, kind of all over the place. He's really in this like gray area right now of knowing his letter sounds, but not being ready for blending. Like he's kind of ready. He's right there on the cusp, but I have to be mindful and gentle about how I go about it because he's not ready to be pushed. So what we've been doing is mostly revisiting a ton of the games in Delightful Reading Level 1. This has been really fun for me to go back to because it was such a positive program with my daughter. And there's just so many card games in here with the letter and word cards that they provide and bingo cards and things like that. So this has been really great. I kind of feel like we've done so much of this and he is like really close to knowing like all of the common letter sounds that he's getting a little burnt out on the games because he feels like he knows it. I feel like he could use more review. So I've had to start getting a little creative by bringing in some other things. I have brought back All About Reading pre-reading just to flip back through it and look at some of the activities that he liked or some of the ones that he wasn't able to do when he did it to see if he can do them now. There's actually a couple that he can't do yet. So that really tells me like we still have work to do before we're going to start blending. We have work to do with back sounds, with rhyming, and just his speech in general. So we've been working on this for a long time. He had a therapist, and he's getting it. It's going great. But like the other day in Explode the Code, which is another supplement that we use, he thought that the gas picture started with a D because he was saying das and not using the back sound. So he still has some work to do. We are nearing the end of Explode the Code C. I'm so proud of him for doing all 3 of these books. And I have the first book ready and waiting when he's showing more readiness for blending. I have been pulling in some various materials that I kind of have already shared on my Charlotte Mason video previously for him. This one I just found, I think I found this for free. And I don't know if I remember where. Preschool Teacher 101, Fantastic Fun and Learning. We did this the other day. And again, like taking it really slow with him, but I used the word cat and bat and fan. And we, worked on placing the picture here, tapping out the sounds, building the word, writing it and drawing it. This actually went really, really well. He spelled out fan all by himself by sounding it out. I was so proud of him. He doesn't think it's a big deal, but I'm really proud of him. So like I said, we're really close. Another fun thing we did was just get outside, like work on sounds outside. So we took a walk around the yard and I asked him to find anything outside and to tell me the first sound and then to tell me the last sound. So tree and grass and leaf and bird. So he really liked that. All right, let's hit his math. His math was an interesting one this summer. So I think I mentioned this, that we were going to use this Gemstones, this Waldorf program for math. It is called the Gomes Gemstones. This isn't it. This is his main lesson book. But it is written by Jennifer Compton from Treasures from Jennifer, if you're familiar with her shop. And she wrote this really cute story about the gnomes and their gemstones. And you use these little peg dolls and you tell a story. And you have these little rocks. And it's all about learning quality of numbers from 1 through 12 and learning about the numbers in different ways, like how it's spelled and its Roman numeral and what you need to add to get to that number and how you can skip count by that number. Like, that's the interesting thing about Waldorf is that they don't isolate math concepts. They really teach them all simultaneously so that you are really getting a very unique and holistic grasp of a certain number. So the number 5 would be taught alongside learning how to draw a star, which he actually really enjoyed that lesson. Did he like this though? No, he liked parts of it, but Woody's interesting. I mean, it's mostly story. Okay, and also, did I like it? Not really. I love setting up story baskets and doing narrations through hands-on play. I really do. But that's for language arts. When it comes to math, it was a little hard for me to get on board with like a narrative-based math story that's difficult to read while you're playing with the manipulatives, the gnomes and the gemstones. A Waldorf teacher would say, well, you need to learn the story first and then retell it. And I just don't feel like that I have like the mental bandwidth for that right now. But I understand why, because reading from the book while you're trying to do the story is difficult. He told me, so I asked him because he was just like not getting into it. He was into it the first day. And I'll tell you how the lesson breaks down is you set up your little props, you read the story, and then I, from the night before, would have had a Waldorf drawing on the chalkboard, just a small one, of the lesson, just based on what happened in the story. And then he would copy it. And so this was the best drawing he probably did. And he likes to draw. He did this kind of quick. But so the gnomes, minus, divide, plus, and multiplication. And, this was for 1. It was 1 basket. And you write the number 1, you spell it out, the Roman numeral. And that would be like a complete math lesson. And then maybe you would do a number card for the word 1 or for the number 1, which we actually did. And the number cards were the favorite thing that we did. I'll show you a picture here. We watercolored these number cards and then found random things around the house, and the kids would glue on whatever number that was. And those are so sweet, and they look really cute in our homeschool room. So that was definitely a positive. You can see as we got to the second lesson for the number 2, he hated me trying to show him how to use the crayons properly, like to make a background. This is his two mountains. That day didn't go as well. And then you would have them do some math equations. And this is another area where Waldorf, waits until first grade, I think, in terms of math specifically, because they teach so many concepts at once. So within the same lesson of learning the number 2 and what that looks like, you're starting to add to 2 and writing out an equation. Hi, baby.
Mom.
So anyway, a lesson might be, doing a little bit of addition and subtraction, which he's really good at, but this was good because he hasn't had a ton of experience writing out his own equations. The number 3 actually went a little better. So, but what's interesting with these stories is that there's actually so little math involved. You have to kind of get creative, I think, and like come up with your own ways. And that's the big thing with Waldorf is that like, there's no guide really. And you're just like, well, really, most Waldorf teachers are trained and certified, so they know how to do this. Otherwise, you're just kind of like figuring it out as you go. This was just about a family of 3. There really wasn't much math involved in this lesson at all. For someone who's brand new to numbers, I really think that this is a lovely, gentle way to do it. But my son's really not, and he's really bright, and so I think he was bored by this. This was supposed to be a compass for the number 4. So I like how they will bring in symbols that represent the number, like a star or a compass. So like this was, you know, learning 5, learning how to do the stars. That was neat because he didn't know how to do that before. And actually, this lesson went well. I'm sorry, it's yellow, so you can't really see it. But he, on his own, was writing down all the ways to make the number 5. And we have just touched on that before, but he was just figuring out himself, which was cool. He did sit, okay, so then at this point, we had stopped the program. I asked him if he wanted to keep doing it. He said no. He literally got to a point where he was throwing the gemstones at the peg dolls, trying to knock them over during the story. He was just burned out on it. I was pretty burned out from setting up this whole story, like, 4 days a week. And then drawing, like I would draw the little chalkboard drawing, and I was feeling kind of burned out. I mean, I think if he was enjoying it more and getting more out of it, I'm happy to do that. But because he wasn't, it was feeling a little overwhelming. Then he sat in on Poppy's Roman numeral lesson, and he learned these so quick. I quizzed him on his Roman numerals afterwards, and he did great. He remembered them all. Not to 5,000, but to 12. So I made this little lesson book for him. I think it's really cute. I think really what's going on in my head is that he's only going to be in kindergarten, and even though he's really bright, I just want to remember that he's only going to be in kindergarten, and I want to make sure that he has a proper kindergarten year. And so doing stuff like this, I think is just so good for the soul and good for his development. So I'm glad we did it, and maybe we'll come back to it. So once that burned out 2 weeks ago, I was like, well, we'll just go back to this. And I asked him, he's like, yeah, I want to go back to this. I think because this is just like simple and straightforward. He doesn't love using manipulatives for math. He actually just is kind of a pencil paper guy, but he uses his fingers, and that's why I'm like, well, let's use this abacus instead. So we are on lesson 53 of this math program that I just don't like, but it's great for where he's at. It's a little simple for him, but again, I really like keeping his age and development in mind. And so I think that we'll finish this throughout the first part of kindergarten next year before deciding what I'm going to do next. I wanted to mention, so because I kind of felt like the stories just weren't teaching a lot of math, and because I didn't really know how to come up with equations just off the top of my head, I actually pulled out Simply Charlotte Mason Book 1 Arithmetic that I used with Poppy in the first grade. And I just went to the number that we were learning on in this, like say the number 2, because this math program is broken down by the numbers 1 through 100. And so I went to the number 2 and I just, went through these word problems. If you have 2 raisins and ate 1 raisin, how many would remain? So we started coming up with different names for the gems, which I think he liked. And this was a perfect supplement or addition to this to make it feel a little more mathematical. And it has me thinking, because this is so strong on word problems, I'm going to bring this in once a week for my son's kindergarten year. Any more than that, they start to get a little burned out on this because it's really repetitive, but it's a fantastic math supplement. Okay, so another long video, but let me get to the natural learning that occurred this summer with our absolute favorite resources. All right. My daughter's read aloud is The Girl Who Drank the Moon. I'm reading it to her. This is a fat book. It's almost 400 pages. I randomly found this because we tried out, at the end of second grade, we tried out Little House in the Big Woods, which was kind of a flop. And then we read James and the Giant Peach in June. And she wasn't super into that either, but at least we finished it. I was like, I need a book that she's going to love. And so I got on ChatGPT and I asked, what book is like Ronia the Robber's Daughter? Because she loved that book. And it gave me a list of books, and I got several of them from the library, and this one looked right up her alley. She loves magic. She loves witches. She loves adventure and real people. And so I got this, and I didn't know if we would stick with it for 400 pages. But we're almost done. We only have a little bit left. We have like less than 100 pages to go. We only read this at night, so it has taken the entire month of July easily. And it will take us into, first couple weeks of August. But this book is so good, you guys. It's not even like overly adventurous, but there's something about it that's really engaging. And her like comprehension and foreshadowing is so good. She's way better than I am. Like, once did I tell her, oh, this author wrote another book called The Witch's Boy. I said that once. And then it was like 2 weeks later where the book alluded to something about the witch having a son. And she was like, oh my God, that's probably the previous book, The Witch's Boy. And I was like, oh my God, it totally probably is. But not only that, she just understands characters and where things are headed. She's really, really good at foreshadow. So anyway, this has been such a fantastic success. In terms of reading, just like book challenge, I brought back, oh gosh, I still have Enrichment to go over, you guys. It's a long video. I brought back the Snack Shack. So I've mentioned this in a few videos. I've been using this as a reading incentive. So I got on Canva and I printed out a ton of these book tickets. And then I went to Target and stocked up on snacks that I don't typically buy. They're not like terrible, but they're a little more sugary than I prefer. So like juice boxes, chewy granola bars, Annie's Bunny Grams, Pirate Booty, like stuff that I sometimes buy, but like not normally. And so to them, it's really special. And so what I do is for Poppy, she has to read 20 minutes a day to get a snack. So listen, sorry. She has to read 10 minutes a day, no matter what. And that gets her 1 book ticket. But to get a snack, she needs 2 book tickets. So she reads 20 minutes a day to get a snack. Most days though, I have a limit of 2 snacks a day. Most days she will read 40 minutes so that she can get a snack. So my original plan of insisting she read 10 minutes a day, which actually was not going super great. She hated being forced to read, even though she could read whatever she wanted. Once I incentivized it, this girl is so easily incentivized. Once I did that, she's reading 40 minutes a day. Not every day, but to get her 2 snacks, she is. So for Woody, he has to be read to at least 10 minutes a day to get 1 ticket, and then 20 minutes a day to get a snack. Reading to him 40 minutes a day is a lot. Like, that's really taking up a lot of time. The other day I was like, can I just give you Explode the Code and you'll do 3 pages? Like, it was a weekend. And he was like, okay. So I was like, okay, I guess that kind of feels good. But yeah, reading to him for 40 minutes a day, I break it up with my husband a bit so that he can get his 2 snacks. Okay. Math, natural learning has been so great. So there are 2 games that I bought last year that we hadn't even brought out because I think learning games are not fun until you're really good at the concept. And so my daughter wasn't into these games until she started getting better at math. Clumsy Thief is so much fun, and Exact Change is really fun too. I prefer Clumsy Thief because it's really fast, and it's learning all these different ways to count to 100. Exact Change is not a fast game, but it is learning how to make change to $1. And so she is obsessed with these. You guys, we've probably played these games like 100, no, maybe not 100, but probably like 50 times just in the last like 3 weeks. Seriously, maybe even more than that. She's obsessed with these. And I'm really glad to finally be using them because I used my school funding to buy these a year ago. So highly, highly recommend these for probably late 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and up. Okay, real quick, we need to hit enrichment. All right, so I got Student Treasures, publish your own book. I talked about this once before. I can link it. You basically print out a file for the kids to write their own book, and then you can send it into this company, studenttreasures.com, and they turn your book into a real book. I thought my daughter was going to go wild for this. It has been rough to get her to do it, but actually I don't even really care. Like, I told her this is up to her if she wants to do it because I thought she'd really want to. She was kind of excited, but I've only gotten her to write the first 2 pages. And I think she'll finish it. I do. I kind of questioned it if she would, and I didn't even bring it back out again for a while, and she asked about it. So I'm just leaving it at her leisure to finish it whenever. But it's been great for handwriting practice and just for her natural writing practice, right? So we have stuck with a little bit of map work. They still like using these dry erase maps. It's starting to burn out a little bit. I wasn't even planning on doing it this summer, but my son was so bummed when I wasn't that he requested them. But once our summer school started feeling pretty easy, I thought, I feel like there is some room to sprinkle in a little bit of enrichment as we get closer to starting fall term so that they're not so shocked by the workload. So I brought in one of our geography plans, Elementary Geography by Charlotte Mason. I love this book. I won't say that they're wild for it, but it is short, sweet, and engaging. I think that these are such appropriate conversations to have with elementary kids about geography. It's very discussion-based, which is very Charlotte Mason in so many subjects. Some of the lessons are just a poem. For those, we'll usually read the poem and then we'll go on to the next lesson and do that one too. So we have done 4 lessons. I'm just bringing it in once a week. And then there are questions after the first few lessons. So what is the shape of the world? Give one reason for supposing that the world is round. Does this prove that the world is round in every direction like a ball? So the whole first few lessons were about the shape of planet Earth. And it was really cool how she suggested you get an orange because oranges aren't perfectly circular. They're kind of flat. And then get a tack and put a tack in it and talk about how we discovered one of the ways we discovered that the Earth is round was through travel by sea, and how if a sailor started in, say, one point or whatever, Asia, and kept traveling on and on and on and on and on, he would eventually, sort of come back to where he started if he continued in that same direction. But you know what I mean. They discovered that the Earth was round because of sea navigation. And so it was really, I liked that the book recommended bringing in this prop, and that part was really engaging for the kids. And I'd say both kids have sat in and listened to this well enough. So I think it's great. I'm really enjoying it so far. The last thing I brought in was artist study. So we've been doing this the last 2 weeks. My daughter just couldn't wait. She wanted us to start artist study. So we're starting with Leonardo da Vinci, and I got the kids their own sketchbooks for the paintings. And we're trying something new this year with artist study, which is narration for the biography that comes with the Simply Charlotte Mason. So I made a copy of Da Vinci and we pasted it into the notebook, and then I'm not having my daughter do all of her own written narrations. I'm essentially just having her write one sentence of a narration, and then I write a sentence, and then that's it. And then the next week I'll have her write a sentence, and then I'll write a sentence. She's really resistant to forced writing. And then we'll study the painting, and the kids will do their own rendition of it. So this was Lady with an Ermine. So cute. And then I will put a copy of the real painting here so that they can see the original compared to theirs. And my son is doing it too. So he did write Leonardo's name, and then I write a sentence of his narration from the biography. And then this one he did today, Geneva de Benci. So cute. And I'll put the original on the other side. So kids love artist study, and I'm doing it with them, which is new this year. I haven't done it with them before, which seems silly, but I'm really enjoying it. And I'm going to try doing a lot of their school stuff alongside them in terms of like the creative stuff and the book reports. And to kind of clean the carpet. Hi guys. I actually just wrapped up. Okay, thanks for hanging out for another super long video. And that's a wrap on our summer school. So many hits, just a few misses. We are taking a week off next week, and then we start our fall term August 4th. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Bye.